December 1952, London, England. You are out for your daily stroll when suddenly the air grows cold and heavy. Visibility drops to mere feet, and you can feel the soot and smoke burning your lungs. What started as a light haze has turned into what they're calling the Great Smog. People clutch at their throats, coughing violently. Children cry with smoky faces pressed against their parents' legs. Everyone is afraid, confused, and alone. They stumble around in the thick gray cloud, unable to see anything or anyone. As night falls, people retreat indoors, desperate for fresh air, but none can be found. Homes, once filled with life, are now empty shells. Where did everyone go? How do you escape a suffocating gas that turns day into night? And what was the Great Smog? Hi, everyone. I'm your host, and this is another episode of Fake Tank Battles. Now let me tell you a story about one of the worst natural disasters in England's history. This disaster didn't involve a war between rival nations, but rather an unexpected and horrific event that resulted in thousands of deaths. The year was 1952, and the scene we've set was not entirely fictional. For 5 days, London had been experiencing unusually high levels of air pollution. But most citizens paid it no mind. It was just another Tuesday morning in post-war Britain. People made their way to work through the hazy streets, while factory chimneys spewed coal smoke into the sky. But this time, something was different. The fog was thicker than usual, and there was something sinister lurking within it. Scientists would later call it a photochemical smog, which may sound contradicting since fog is usually associated with water droplets and clouds. But the two phenomena are more alike than you might think. Fog forms when saturated water vapor condenses in the lower atmosphere near the Earth's surface, forming clouds at ground level. Smog, on the other hand, is a combination of smoke and fog, often caused by industrial pollutants such as sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and unburnt hydrocarbons. These gases form over cities, where they're trapped by hills or buildings and mixed with fog. What results is a deadly cocktail of chemicals known as smog. The cause of the Great Smog, the severe air pollution event that hit London from December to December 1952, is still debated by scientists. Some blame the high-pressure system that kept fog trapped over the city. Others point to the unusually cold weather, which drove citizens to keep their homes and offices heated. Still, others argue that the culprit was the tens of thousands of coal-burning furnaces in London's factories, homes, and offices. Regardless of its cause, the smog hung over London like a thick blanket, turning day into night and poisoning the air. Visibility plummeted to just a few feet in the thickest parts of the smog. Motorists used their headlights during the day, and pedestrians used their street maps to navigate the unfamiliar landscape. Coal smoke covered everything in a layer of soot, making chimneys, statues, and trees look like giant chocolate cake. But the fine particulate matter was so dense that Londoners could barely breathe. The air tasted sweet and acrid, like burning sugar. People struggled to make their way through the thick fumes, gasping for clean air. Factory workers left their jobs early, while doctors urged people to stay indoors. People began suffering from respiratory problems, particularly children and the elderly, who were already weakened by the harsh winters of the previous years. Hospitals were quickly overwhelmed with patients. Doctors struggled to cope with the sheer number of cases, but they couldn't save everyone. As the days passed, the death toll rose steadily. When the fog finally lifted on December, Londoners emerged from their homes to find a city transformed. A thick layer of soot covered everything. Homes and businesses were deserted. Parks and streets were littered with debris. People lay dead in their tracks, never having made it home from work. Others had collapsed in the street, too weak to continue walking. It was a scene of utter devastation. But this is where things get weird. According to official records, 4,000 Londoners died during the Great Smog, but some say the real number is much higher. Some claim that as many as 12,000 people perished in the toxic fog. If true, then where are they? Why haven't their remains been found yet? In the weeks following the smog, cemeteries were overwhelmed with bodies and mass graves were dug. Many of the victims of the Great Smog were unidentified, and no one came forward to claim their bodies. So they were buried in unmarked graves. But even after all these years, not all the bodies have been accounted for. There are still dozens of unidentified people buried in the cemeteries of South London. Some say they were victims of the Great Smog, while others believe they may have died of other causes and were simply misattributed to the smog. But the truth is, no one really knows what happened to them. And that brings us back to the beginning. Imagine you are wandering through the smoky streets of London, desperately searching for somewhere, anyone to help you breathe. Then you spot a building up ahead with its lights on. Hope surges through you. Maybe you can beg to use their phone, or maybe they'll even let you come inside and warm up. You hurry toward the building, eager to escape the choking fumes. But as you approach, you notice something strange. There are no windows, only a blank concrete wall. Confused, you reach out to touch it, but recoil as your fingers meet cold, hard metal. The wall is not a wall at all, but a sheet of iron. And when you try to move it, you realize it's locked. You pound on the metal, screaming for help, but your voice is lost in the fog. No one can hear you. So you turn and run, collapsing to your knees as you go. The last thing you see is the iron sheet, wreathed in smoke before everything goes black. You wake up shivering in a dark room. You can't remember how you got there or why. All you know is that you need to get out. You scramble to your feet and race toward the door, but you don't open it. Instead, you walk straight into a wall. Disoriented, you stumble back and spin around, desperate to find the exit. But no matter which way you turn, you only find solid concrete. You're trapped in a dark room with no windows or doors. Then you hear footsteps approaching. You press yourself against the wall, hoping to hide, but it's too late. A pair of harsh eyes sweeps the room, taking in every inch of darkness. A gruff voice speaks up, breaking the silence. "Who's there?" you whisper, terrified. "It's only me," comes the reply. "I was looking for someone to kill." With that, the man pulls a lever and the room fills with deadly gas. You struggle to breathe, but it's no use. The killer has won. There are hundreds of stories like this one, accounts of people who vanished into thin air during the Great Smog, never to be seen again. Some say they were abducted by aliens or taken to a parallel dimension, while others believe they simply got lost in the smoke and died. But one thing is for sure. Those who disappeared are gone forever. Their bodies were never found, nor their spirits laid to rest. What happened to them? We may never know. So let this be a lesson to us all. If ever you find yourself caught in a thick fog, be careful. There may be more to it than meets the eye. And if you hear footsteps behind you, don't turn around. It's always best to keep running. Hey guys, thanks for watching another episode of Fake Tank Battles. If you want to learn more about the Great Smog, check out the resources below. And don't forget to subscribe for more exciting episodes. I'll see you next time.